All right, let's dive right into this explainer and look at how a surprisingly tiny number of words can completely transform the way you speak English. Have you ever felt totally paralyzed when trying to speak a new language, even after you've been studying it for literally years? Do you just find yourself trapped in that endless study phase, unable to actually hold a real conversation? Well, today we're breaking down a really fascinating approach that basically challenges everything we've been taught about language learning. It's called the 521 word method, and honestly, it's going to completely shift your perspective on what it actually takes to be fluent. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with a vocabulary myth, introduce the 52 one-word solution, check out some powerful sentence patterns, apply it all to daily life, tackle that speaking fear, and wrap up with a daily action plan.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the vocabulary myth.
The English language has more than 170,000 words. Just let that sink in for a second. 170,000. To put that into perspective, if you learned one new word every single day, it would take you over 460 years just to learn them all. I mean, seeing a massive number like that is enough to give anyone a panic attack. It feels like this impossible mountain to climb.
So it's entirely natural to look at a giant dictionary and think, how on earth could I possibly memorize all of that to become fluent? We're kind of conditioned to believe that fluency just equals knowing more and more vocabulary. So what do? We memorize and memorize and memorize. But our source material highlights a really critical flaw here. Even after cramming thousands of words into their brains, people still freeze up. They're still terrified to speak. And that's because the problem isn't the number of words. The problem is actually the way we learn them.
But here is the massive sigh of relief. You actually only need 521 high-frequency words to speak clear, natural, daily English. Not tens of thousands, just 521 simple words. In fact, even native speakers only use about 2,000 to 3,000 words in regular daily life anyway, and most everyday casual conversations rely on an even smaller fraction of those. Which brings us right into Section 2, the 521-word solution.
This really illustrates the difference perfectly. Instead of endlessly memorizing huge vocab lists and freezing up over complex grammar rules, the 521 word method is all about repeating a small core group of words until you build genuine confidence. The old way, it just leaves you feeling stuck with all that grammar trapped inside a textbook. The new way focuses entirely on repetition. Think about how a child learns, right? They don't sit down and study a dictionary. They hear simple words every day and they just repeat the same patterns over and over again. Language is learned by using it, not just memorizing it.
So, what exactly are these magic words? Honestly, they're the types of high-frequency words you probably already know. We're talking pronouns like I and you, basic verbs like go and eat, simple adjectives, and your daily nouns. The source makes a great point. With just these fundamental building blocks, you can create literally thousands of sentences. I go home. You go to work. We go to the market. It's the exact same words, but completely different meanings. It just goes to show that fluency isn't about knowing more words. It's about using the ones you already have repeatedly.
All right, let's move on to Section 3, powerful sentence patterns. I want you to think of these 5 basic patterns as paved roads, and your action verbs, well, those are the cars. If you have a clear road, the car can drive smoothly. Take the pattern, I want to. That is your fixed road. Now you just swap out the car. I want to eat. I want to sleep. I want to work. Then you've got patterns like I need to, I am going to, I like to, and I have to. Once that road is built, you can easily swap out those cars to instantly create hundreds of different sentences, all without ever stopping to overthink complicated grammar rules. And this works so incredibly well because your brain absolutely loves patterns. When your brain sees these same structures over and over again, it just automatically remembers them. You no longer have to stop mid-sentence and calculate verb conjugations. The grammar skips the textbook and goes directly to your mouth. This is exactly how native speakers talk. They aren't calculating grammar rules in real time. They're just using patterns they've already repeated thousands of times.
Now for Section 4, English in daily life.
We can take those exact patterns we just talked about and apply them immediately to the things you do every single day. You don't need advanced theoretical topics to practice. Your standard daily routine is already packed with opportunities. Look at 7 a.m. I wake up early, I feel tired, I need water. Or at noon, I go to work, I feel busy. 6 p.m., I feel happy, I want to rest. These are simple, repeating patterns, but they are real, and real English is powerful. By connecting the language straight to your actual lived daily experience, it becomes deeply ingrained in your memory. Which brings us to the whole concept of survival English. It covers all the absolute essentials: asking for help, expressing how you feel, and talking about time. Let's look at an example. Yesterday I go to work. Now, obviously, any English teacher is going to pull out a red pen and tell you the grammar isn't perfect. It should be went. But is the message crystal clear? Absolutely. If you say, yesterday I go to work, the person you're talking to knows exactly what you mean. The source really emphasizes this. People out in the real world do not judge your grammar. They feel your confidence. True communication, not textbook perfection, is what survival English is all about.
Moving on to Section 5, Overcoming Speaking Fear. If we're going to overcome that fear, we first need to completely redefine fluency. Fluency is simply speaking smoothly without stopping. That's it. It is not speaking incredibly fast. It is not using massive, complicated vocabulary. It's really just about your brain feeling safe with familiar words so you can speak smoothly without freezing up like a deer in headlights. When you try to force difficult words, you stop, you overthink, and you get nervous. When you stick to simple words, your mind calms down and you actually feel relaxed. This quote right here brilliantly captures the whole philosophy. English is not a test. English is a tool. Fear ultimately comes from pressure, the pressure to be correct, the pressure to sound absolutely perfect. But listen, you are not speaking to impress someone with a perfect exam score. You are simply picking up a tool to express your ideas and share what's on your mind. When you let go of that suffocating need to be perfect, you finally give yourself permission to just communicate. And doing that creates this wonderful chain reaction. Step 1, by sticking to simple words, your brain actually feels safe. Step 2, that lack of pressure completely removes the fear and gives you permission to open your mouth and actually try. And then step 3, your confidence begins to grow. But notice this, confidence doesn't come before you speak. It comes after taking action. It grows steadily from those small daily repetitions. And finally, Section 6, your daily action plan. So here is your highly effective, incredibly simple action plan, a 10-minute daily exercise. First, just pick one part of your daily life. Maybe your morning routine, your commute, your evening winding down. Second, create 5 simple sentences using those road and car patterns we talked about. Third, and I cannot stress this enough, this is the most important part, speak them out loud, not just in your head. Speaking is a physical skill, right? You have to train the actual muscles in your mouth. If you dedicate just 10 short minutes a day to physically speaking simple sentences out loud, your mouth gets stronger, your brain gets faster, and that fear, it's naturally going to start to fade away. Ultimately, we all have to accept one hard truth. You are never going to feel 100% ready to start. Ready isn't something you just sit around and wait for. It's something you actively build by speaking. So the choice is completely yours. Are you going to go back to silence, waiting around for the magical day your grammar is flawless? Or will you take these 521 simple words, use your own daily life as your classroom, and take one small, loud step forward today? The tool is right there in your hands. Now it's time to use it.